Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Everyday Bitcoin, a new Bitcoin, well, now not so new, but a young Bitcoin podcast focusing on Bitcoin's adoption and its use as money, the new everyday money standard. Today is May 21st, 2026, coming at you at a block height at 950,411. And not that we care too much about the price because we're not here to talk about it on the podcast, but the timestamp is with the price. An exchange rate, really, it's $77,750 per coin, or a stat or a metric that I actually kind of prefer because it makes it easier to think about it on the everyday and making purchases, is that it's 1,286 sats per dollar. So that is our little timestamping. And today I'm here with a new episode. I'm here with Seth from Nostr. Well, yeah, Seth is a hardcore Nostrich, and he has several different projects that he's working on. Maybe we'll get into all of them. I don't know, but the one we're principally here to talk about today is his Zap.Cooking. Um, but I'll let Seth explain it all and introduce himself. So welcome to the show, Seth. How are you?
Hey, thanks, Keith. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for coming on. Yeah. So what kind of little background info can you give us on you in terms of, I guess, like your Bitcoin journey? And I suppose for this chat, we're definitely going to talk a lot about Nostr too, which I haven't talked about too much on the show, so it'll be cool. But yeah, what's your Bitcoin story, your origin story?
Yeah, well, what's Bitcoin? What's Nostr, right? It all starts humble beginnings. Mine was really, I had a friend, like a lot of people, right? I had a friend who was sort of nagging me about it and saying, "Oh, this Bitcoin, you got to get some." And he was also into, shit coins and crypto stuff, and one that was supposed to be free and environmental friendly and all sorts of crap. But Bitcoin had the brand and it had the history and all that stuff. So I was like, I need to just sort of like just do a deep study. And this is around COVID time. Like when that happened, I was like, had known about it, but I was always sort of on the skeptical, like some sort of policy shift needs to happen, some big change, right? Because I was reading up a lot of like macroeconomics at the time, reading up on like Ray Dalio and some of these like legendary investors and stuff like that. And then COVID came out, I'm like, okay, well, it's time to, learn about this Bitcoin thing now that this
Yeah.
has happened. And I went right to the Bitcoin standard, honest to God. I didn't like seek it out. It was just like, I need to learn about this, and this looks like the best book. And I just started reading it, and it was like, okay, it was hook, line, and sinker from there. And yeah, I mean, now it's just part of my everyday life.
Nice. I also read well, yeah, I feel like everyone's read the Bitcoin Standard, but for me, it was, actually, yeah, I read it towards the end of last year, I think. It was not one of the first books I read. I don't even know how that happened, but yeah, I do love the Bitcoin Standard,
Yeah, yeah, the Bitcoin
classic book.
standard, and there was a couple other ones that I went down and read about, and some of it was like blockchain type of stuff. So I was, I think everyone sort of starts in that phase where they're like, oh, what is this? And you go for like the shiny new object too, and you're like, blockchain, what is this? And so and I think that was good because it gave me just a deeper understanding of like the difference and why Bitcoin is just a better option across all of them.
Yeah. And then since then, has it, I guess, how have you found like incorporating it into your life over the past several years? Have you been slowly but surely incorporating it more and more? And obviously, you built some projects based, well, not based on it, but that are heavily using Bitcoin in a value for value way. Um, so how have you found the journey the past, I guess, couple of years as with
Yeah,
adoption?
interesting during those early days in 2019, 2020 era. It was all about stacking and of course HODL culture, and which now I sort of think HODL culture is a disservice to Bitcoin because it just says, all right, just take all the Bitcoin and don't ever spend it and just save it. And it's like I did that for like years, just stacked it and then playing around with mobile wallets and then cold wallets and all the phases, right? And I was doing all that, and of course it was really when I discovered Nostr that I started using Bitcoin more as a daily driver, right? Like I'd never done
Uh,
that before. Lightning layer 2 was, I don't want to say it was new, but it was, it was becoming more of a usable tool. Those were the early days with Wallet of Satoshi and things like that. But so I was a stacker until I was a zapper. That's sort of my transition. And of course, all in between, when you get to spend it as money and like buy stuff at, you know, um, whether it's like Bitcoin Park or Steak and Shake, not, I haven't been there yet, but,
uh,
just other applications. You're just like, wow, this is just awesome. Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you know, was zapping the first time you like sent Bitcoin? Do you know?
No, no. I mean, I did, a bunch of on-chain transactions, of course, and, had made money, sold it, and all the things that you go through during those cycles of learning. And I'll never forget my first, like, I'll say big on-chain transaction, where it's a sizable enough amount you don't want to lose it. And and I was like, completely, because I didn't know, I guess, what I know today, right? Of how the process works, and you click the button, you're like waiting to see does it show up on the other end, and like just kind of like doing some breath work till until you see that
Yeah.
transaction show up, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of played around, but I didn't really have a lot of, it's just people on Twitter I was talking to, a couple of my buddies and stuff like that. So, just playing around in small group settings and local stuff, and you know, on exchanges, off exchanges type of thing, storing it in different wallets. So it was just sort of a slow early introduction, but it was about hodling, and yeah, and like I said, when I discovered Nostr, it was like, okay, this is different now.
Uh, which I'd love to get into the, I guess, your Nostr origin. But real quick, I think so. I'm kind of, well, this is my third the year like down the rabbit hole, like truly in Bitcoin and learning about it and using it and all that. So I feel like I've come in at a time when the everyday money movement and the lightning usage has been increasing. And I guess it also depends on who you follow in the space and who you're exposed to. Is if like you're all you consume is sailor content, then it's literally never sell your Bitcoin. But now,
Yeah.
unfortunately, he's also, shitcoining with his stretch and all of his preferreds and is actually, no, that was someone on Reddit. Someone on Reddit was like, should I sell my Bitcoin to buy more MicroStrategy? It's like, no.
Yeah, I mean, he
um,
drives me nuts as a person, just because I just think, I'm with you. I think he's taken things in the completely wrong direction.
yeah, but I'm sure because I know because Lightning's been around since 2017 or 16.
Yeah,
I always
I believe
forget.
so.
But I know it's really only the past couple years where it's really started to take off and um, definitely get more usage. So I guess before that, I mean, before that was before my time, so I guess it's kind of hard to imagine what it'd be like when the kind of the only way you would send Bitcoin is on chain. And I guess dealing with people, or I guess dealing with the frictions of a developing, and it's still developing, obviously, but a much more nascent Lightning network and trying to use it as money and all the frictions you'd run into. And I guess more so because now Bitcoin, at least in the U.S., is much more mainstream. But when you came into it, it was much not mainstream. So I'm sure that asking the question, "Do you accept Bitcoin to a merchant?" back then would have been even completely like ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're right. There, people forget that Bitcoin was sort of under a magnifying glass during the last administration, and just political wins, changing things. And I remember, there was a lot of people in government that were just very anti. Remember Elizabeth Warren and her anti-crypto army? Like she had this
Yeah,
ad that like explicitly said like with a headshot that says I'm anti-crypto army, and it was like all the different departments were sort of doing these squirrely things that were just making it a little uncomfortable, and not that I was ever like felt like I was targeted or anything like that, but it was just around the edges. You could just feel the pressure that people didn't like this thing, and saw it as a threat, and were acting policy up around that.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. Well, with that said, what is your not both your Nostr story and you're able to give a little high background or a high level view on what Nostr is? Because it's come up a little bit on this podcast, but you would definitely do a better job of explaining it than me. Uh,
Well, I'll give it my best shot. You know, Nostr is sort of like what Bitcoin is to money, but it is to social media. But I think social media is sort of misleading, and
mhm,
you know, it's a little too grandiose to call it like a whole new internet. But it really is. It's you know, it's a protocol, and it is something that you can spin up you know, portable identities and you know, your npub, your nsec. Instead of having a username and a password, you have a key pair, which is very similar to what you see with Bitcoin. So that's why Bitcoiners have sort of migrated towards it. And then, of course, you know, over the years, it has integrated Bitcoin as sort of the base monetary layer. That's
mhm.
not not completely uh, necessary, but it has worked with the Lightning, and now we're having some arguments about on-chain Zaps and different things
Yeah.
across the network. But you know, it's I kind of see it as this place. It was this new place. I found it in 2023 on like the uh, early days of, like, I think it was Jack Dorsey had tweeted it, and Damus had just come out, and Damus was kind of like the first like real mobile app client. And then like shortly after it launched, it was like banned in China. So it was like
Mhm.
the perfect place for this libertarian mindset of
Yeah.
individuals who liked Bitcoin, and it was just this new place where you could have conversations. Not everything. The early days were like everything was Twitter like, right? But there was also Derek Ross had Nostr Nests, and that early implementation was an audio space, so similar to Twitter Spaces. And there was just a bunch of people that used to just get on there and just talk and just chat, and like you and I right now, and we have these conversations, and we do it for hours, right? And
Mhm.
everyone was interested in this space that we were sort of building on. And nobody really knew what we were doing. We were just sort of playing around, and it was like
Yeah.
a new sandbox, right? And it was janky, and it was unpolished, and things didn't work. And but there was also things that did work better than social media. For like example, you could put uh, uh, gifs or gifs or whatever you want to call it on um, you know, your PFP and stuff like that. So it's like, oh, well, you can't really do that on Twitter or Facebook and have these sort of like experiences. And then there's like, well, you got to upload your uh, photos and your video to a third party server. So you're like, oh, so that sort of says that you know, the client, whoever it is, and Damus, or you know, now we have all these different ones, Primal, and all these uh, different applications. Well, like, you're not putting your information on their servers. You're going to like a third party, and it's a link, and but it's working that way. So there's this interoperability that was like super cool.
Mhm.
And the early days, it was just like the personality of like the people that were there were just all sort of like, hey, this thing looks cool. And we were just having just conversations, just social. It was like this new place to go have a different type of conversation that wasn't steeped in like political, you know, stuff that sort of dominated a lot of the other spaces. So it's really cool.
Yeah. And what you said, I guess I never thought about it, but you mentioned that like Bitcoin is heavily integrated, but that doesn't actually need to be. Um, on the like on the protocol level and for the protocol to do what it's doing. But I think it, and I'm sure you'd agree that the Bitcoin integration does supercharge Nostr as a protocol and its ability to, well, to radically change the internet and how we use the internet by introducing value for value. Um, which, for those who don't know, and just to clarify, we keep saying Zaps, and for those who may not know, on in the Nostr land, like a Zap is essentially just a Bitcoin payment to somebody, which can be as low as 1 sat. Um, so like right now would be less than 1 US cent worth of value. Um, but where was I going with this? Yeah, value for value heavily is a major part of Nostr. And so when you joined Nostr, sorry if I misunderstood, were Zaps already there?
No, no. Man, that's a good question. I can't remember when Zaps sort of came about. They came about in stages, and it was Will from Damas, who
Hmm.
actually was the originator. In the early days, he was testing the idea, and he uh, called it. I'm thinking about this new thing called bolts,
Hmm.
and then I think it was like Avi Burra weighed in, and Derek Ross were, and Daniel, and a bunch of folks are like, nah. And somebody mentioned Zaps, and it was like, oh, a +1 for Zaps, +2 for Zaps, and everyone just piled on, and they're like, all right, Zaps it is,
Zaps it
and that
is.
was defining the actual spec, the NIP, the Nostr implication possibility, or implementation possibility, um, which is like NIP 57. But before that, we were doing Lightning transactions. Wallet of Satoshi was like the original zapping method, preferred zapping method, where and there was a point in time it was like, oh, you can do this, right? And so people were posting their Lightning invoices, and just putting them out there for 21 sats, 100 sats. Actually, in the early days, we were zapping thousands of sats like pretty consistently.
Yeah, I've heard about
Um,
like the million sat zaps and stuff from Jack back in
yeah,
the
yeah,
day.
and then there was zapathons, and there was a whole culture that sort of came about. But it started with just pasting, Wallet of Satoshi Lightning invoices, and Wallet of Satoshi didn't require email or anything like that, so it was real easy to set up, and we were just zapping each other, and it was, happening in real time, and that led to these zapathons where people would just post memes and invoices. And actually, I don't remember if that which came first, the NIP 57 spec, or the um, the the Wallet of Satoshi invoices. But somewhere around all that time, it was just, everyone was just having fun zapping and just showing like you could do this thing on
Yeah,
these new rails, right?
yeah, that's cool. I did not know that about the wallet of Satoshi and that you guys were just literally, yeah, just posting invoices and stuff back and forth.
Yes. So in like around that time frame, it was like early days, and sort of picking up on like conversations like I was mentioning about in Nostr Nests. That's sort of how Zap.Cooking came about, was that we were just having conversations about domain names, and buying domain names, and I was like, oh, this Nostr thing really seems, like it's gonna be something. Really, I had really high hopes for this thing early on, and still do, of course. But
Hmm.
um that I originally bought the domain Nostr.Cooking, and tried to build an idea for a database, or something that was going to work across these Nostr relays and sharing recipes. And that's
Uh-huh.
sort of how Nostr.Cooking was originally born, and then we moved it to Zap.Cooking, and it's sort of taken on its own life ever since.
Hmm. And actually, I just remembered where I was going with that. I just wanted to comment and say that I do think at times it is kind of cool just to think like, oh my God, we're just like a bunch of what kind of weird people on Nostr, but everyone's weird, but we're fun, and different. Anyway, just literally just sending Bitcoin around the globe to each other for posting memes or making jokes or literally just like saying good morning or posting a picture of like your food. Like it's kind of crazy when you think about, like, I think years from now it'll be crazy to think about, oh my God, we were just freely just dishing out hundreds of sats worth of, well, of Bitcoin for literally a meme. Um, and with that, yeah, Zap.Cooking. So I recently found out about it um last year. But so when did you actually, I guess, shift over to Zap.Cooking from Nostr.Cooking? Do you remember that when that was?
Yeah, it was around late 2023, around September or something like that. And
Oh wow.
um, back in those days, I sound like like the Simpsons meme, back in my day. But it was only a couple years ago, but it seems like a lifetime because so much has changed in the space, right?
Mhm.
But the original Nostr.Cooking, I owned the domain, and I was like, all right, now what, right? And back in those days, it was like, pre AI vibe coding stuff. So like developers were like almost like all stars, right? They were sort of the people that were like popular on in the space, And they were the ones that were building these applications. Like Damus and Amethyst were early, and there was a couple other ones. I think Satellite.Earth was pretty early on too. Snort, Nostr Nest, like I mentioned, all these different clients that were out. So developers were like the hot thing, and they were all in. And I wasn't, and still not a developer, but in that sense of like, I've had some technical background in professionally and tinkering and a lot of things over many years, um, but I wasn't a developer, so I needed to try to get somebody to help me work on it. And there used to be a site, I can't remember who ran it, but it was nosterbounties.com or something like that. And I was like, okay, well, and you could, it was actually like a long form note, which is different nip or different kind that is used in Nostr. And I just said, and I think it's still, if you look at my like old notes from back then, it was like looking for somebody to help me develop this recipe database, and we're going to use it. And it was actually off a website called base.cooking. It's just a real simple recipe website that just captured the recipe, not the whole story and all the ads and all the pictures and blah blah
Yeah.
blah. But um, so that's how it originally got started, and I connected with a developer who's hasn't really been on Nostr lately. His name's Teal, or at least that was his pseudonym, and he did the original development and the original repository, and it was janky, but it worked, and it was a different idea because everyone was building Twitter like clients, that modeled the Twitter experience and the UX from Twitter. Not exactly, right? Different colors, different functionalities and stuff, but for the most part it was a social experience like this was something that was could be built on Nostra, that was designed to not be that, and it was functional. It was serving a purpose to actually create something that's better than these legacy websites, which are filled with basically spam, between
Yeah.
ads and stories and all sorts of crap, when you just want to know what the chicken casserole recipe is.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Which I guess was gonna be a question, but you kind of answered it. So you did eventually land on turning Zap.Cooking into what it is specifically to kind of combat the broken and extractive like monetization model. Because most cooking websites are literally just ad farming and like
Yeah.
affiliation farming. So that was the main driver behind doing it. Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that was the original concept. It was just to build something that's simple and straight to the point. And it was about functionality, and that was and we're trying to keep it that way, with this opportunity to build this new internet space out. So why
Uh,
not, right?
yeah, for sure. Did you guys do? Because I'm trying to think. I feel like when I discovered it at the end of last year, I thought it was brand new. So did you do like a big design overhaul or something late last year?
Yeah. So we've done a couple different phases. The original phase was what I was mentioning. It's just sort of basic. Didn't have any pictures or images or anything like that. Phase two, I was working with Carnage. I think he's HoloCat now. But he's been on Nostr forever. And he had a lot of experience in the design space, UI UX type of work. So him and another young developer named Jack Shikani was also working in the space, and like, hey, you want to work on this? Because I didn't know what I was doing, and but
Hmm.
we would collaborate between the three of us through conversations on Nostr Nest, or conversations through group text or whatever, and it created that sort of next layer, which was still all recipes, but it was also we added like visual images, and just cleaned it up a lot to make it look you know much better, much more improved.
Hmm.
Eventually we'd sort of land on, and I don't remember which came first, but through a conversation with my friend Bevo, said about Zap.Cooking. It was just a more actionable name than Nostr. Nostr was very, you know, tied into Nostr. This was like, a little more freeing, because you
Yeah.
could take it a bunch of different ways. But and that's how Zap.Cooking was born, or as it stands today.
Yeah, I think it's a great name. Definitely better than Nostr.Cooking. It also just like rolls off the tongue.
Yeah,
Zap.Cooking. Um, which before finding out about this, I also had no idea .cooking was a domain. Um,
yeah,
so
me
that's
neither.
that's cool.
So
Do you ever randomly, like real aside, do you ever have you heard of people having issues reaching it? Because I know maybe certain browsers might not support it. Or
no, no, I think I've never had any of those issues with
no.
all the browsers. So
That's good. That's good. That's good. And for the audience, I am a chef on Zap.Cooking. Um, I've uploaded a handful of recipes. I want to upload a lot more. The problem is, and it's not really a problem, is that I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. I'm actually a lot of perfectionist. So I want to get like really good pictures. And whenever I'm cooking, I never take the time to like take nice pictures. And I don't want to upload a recipe that doesn't have pictures, or at least like the whole
yeah,
like process pictures. And I also don't measure too much. Do you measure a lot when you're cooking, or do you
not
do a lot of
really.
eyeballing?
For the most part, I like cooking, not as much baking. That I'm just I could not bake a cake without measuring stuff.
Yeah, baking's
So
hard.
I couldn't eyeball that, but salt and pepper, no problem.
Yeah, but there's a whole there's like at least 5 recipes I want to add there that I just need to one actually like I guess quantify the ingredients and
Yeah,
then take good process shots because I don't want to just
nice.
upload like a finished shot. I want the whole
Well,
process to make it really easy for someone to follow.
so one of the things I've been trying to do to make it more user friendly, easier, and the cool thing about it, right, is you said I'm a chef on Zap.Cooking, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess technically you are, but that's also your Nostr profile. So like, that's not y- owned by Zap.Cooking. You're just sharing. You're providing your keys and saying, hey, I'm gonna put a recipe up here, which is commentable, likable, zappable, shareable,
Yeah,
and even you can create your own cookbooks now. So that's the cool thing, is it's monetary for the person who uploads it. It's their experience. They own it, and I just provide, it's like the landscape to, go do your thing on, right? So
yeah, that is true. It is true. And for I guess the audience listening who's not familiar with how it may work, what Seth is saying is that like my profile on Nostr is that I sign into Zap.Cooking with my private with my well yeah with my Nostr keys, and everything I do with my keys follows me wherever I go, whether it be Zap.Cooking or nests like Seth said earlier, or any of the like Twitter Lite microblogging stuff and all the other various things. So it's pretty cool. And Nostr works is that you are you no matter where you go, and you take everything with you. So everybody could be a Zap cooking chef, even if they just upload one recipe. So it's kind of a cool way to think about that. Um, have you gotten a lot of, I guess, feedback from people? I don't want to call them creators, but I guess I'll call them chefs, or I guess it's people that use the app in terms of like I'm just thinking, like for a non-Bitcoiner, like let's say my mom, non-Bitcoiner. Have you received like what's like the UX flow from if they find a recipe they really like to then wanting to send it some value? Do you get feedback from people on that path or any obstacles along the
um
way or
a lot of people who are users on there are probably heavy into Nostr or Bitcoin. So it's technical folks or curious folks. But to your point, I mean, our approach has been to try to get that normie culture to say, hey, you don't have to be a tech nerd to be on Nostr or Zap.Cooking. And, our focus has been around, expanding from just recipes to food culture. And we have, over the past, what we're almost pizza day, huh? Tomorrow.
yeah,
And
that is tomorrow.
yeah, and so we're, early in or mid-May, and about the beginning of the year, been working on it, collaborating it. I don't know, Daniel, the Daniel, maybe Daniel.
The Daniel, yes.
Yeah. Um, so he's been supporting a lot of PRs and just collaborating with other folks like the team at Bronta and just growing the list of features. But to your question earlier, how do we get feedback? It's Nostr users say, I would like this, tag me in it, or make a comment on the repo, or send a DM or whatever. And so it's in a sense, it's built out by the community. You want a feature, we're probably going to add it if it makes sense. If you want Ethereum Zaps, probably not, but uh but anything that sort of aligns with the mission, building community, or making it easier for users, then most likely yes. And that's just been, especially the past 6 7 months, has been just a lot of just building those features out. And I think we've come a long way to try to get the normie type of person. We're probably going to explore some simpler logins. We have good login flow and sign up flow, but been thinking about, like, certainly doing the passkey option and have some stuff built out for that.
Yeah.
But maybe even like a Google, Apple type of login where your passwords saved in your keychain or something, but just trying to simplify it and give users options to try to log in. So, your mom, your grandma, whoever is comfortable just clicking buttons and getting on and participating in the community.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Oh, yeah, lowering the friction as much as possible, or removing the friction as much as possible to get the normies and the non-tech people and on board with this. Because yeah, I think it's kind of like a meme. Like everybody that's ever used a recipe website, it's like you go to the recipe and then it's just a wall of garbage of ads and like the person's backstory and their life story and their elementary school trauma, and then you finally get to the recipe. And Zap.Cooking, it's just bam right there, no garbage, no fluff. Um, because of the great thing that is Zaps and the ability to do value for value, and not needing to sell ads or sell affiliation. And I don't even know why people include all that backstory to begin with anyway. But it's great that it's not there on Zap.Cooking. Do you have any stats on zapping on Zap.Cooking or any other stats in general?
Yeah,
Uh,
I never really built anything out. There's folks that build out those macros for zapping aggregates and things like that. I never really did specific because it'd be kind of tough to to narrow down exactly which client, although it's probably easier now than it was. So I don't know exactly how many people are zapping. I mean, you can get the different recipes. You can go, you can see the collections and who's zapped what, and probably something we can build out though as a future feature, something just to, what's the, instead of saying something that's top liked, something that's top zapped means that people put monetary value into it and, they appreciate it more than, a like is just sort of a social commitment, I guess. And, a zap is, I feel you, man. And I'm sending you some real value.
mhm. Yeah, I agree entirely. I think it would be cool to see like sort by top zaps. That is literally, money is literally the best, I guess, way to show your support for something. If you're literally willing to spend money to just show your support and say this is good, because anyone can leave a like, anyone could leave a comment. Comments, more effort than a like. But if you're gonna actually be like, I actually want to say that this is good. Thank you for the time and the effort of uploading it and making this recipe, and boom, um, yeah, that'd be awesome to see. Um, I see behind you, and the audience doesn't know, and I also see on Zap.Cooking, there's bread and toast.
Oh
Are
yeah.
you also affiliated with bread and toast? Or is
So no,
Zap.Cooking affiliate?
Dan. He's a friend, and so he's come to Nostr Valley a couple times. He's regionally local. If that's many, it could be many hours away, right?
Yeah.
But he's and one of the things we added to, and some may call it controversial, but I saw it as a way to sort of highlight projects and give people, because I need an outlet, right? Like I want people to know about Zap.Cooking, and there's no real good way outside of me posting, right? So Bread and Toast is a collection of comics that he draws, and it's his brand, and he has a website, and so he's been a sponsor of Zap.Cooking for quite a while. And we built out a workflow that you can come sponsor Zap.Cooking for, I can't remember what it is, a pretty, comparative, like normie type of thing. But it's for that community. If you want to share your project, you can put it up on the main page when you go to Zap.Cooking. It's kind of our explore page, which has the different cooks you can reach and look at their recipes. You can look at what's been recently posted. We have long form articles that we point to as part of that. It's just sort of a discovery page, and then at the top we have a banner option to which supports us, through Lightning Network. So it's all Bitcoin related, and you need to pay a Lightning transaction to do this. And but yeah, Bread and Toast is one of our original sponsors, and he's been doing it for a couple months now since we've introduced that.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I've seen. I don't think I follow him on Nostr. I should if I don't, but I definitely
Yeah,
seen
he
the
goes by
little
Pickle Dan,
comics.
I think.
Oh, Pickle Dan. Okay, yeah, I know
Yeah,
Pickle
yeah.
Dan.
But that is actually, I'll get it. I know no one can see, but it is.
I
So the
can see. Oh,
original
it's
Nostra
metal.
Valley, which we did, was in State College in 2000, I guess 24, and he made these, and it made 10 of them, and I got one of 10 for its lasered out steel. Bread
That's
and
cool.
Toast Nostra Valley, 1 of 10. So it's a treasure to me, and he brought these up, and it was really cool, and cool keepsake. So it's in my office here. I keep it here.
Yeah, I think that kind of stuff is cool. Just little ways to bring the physical, well, not bring the physical, bring the digital world into our physical lives in terms of little things like that. Um, would you, does Zap.Cooking offer any kind of merch or anything? I think I saw, maybe not through you guys, but some company was
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
merch.
Actually, another fun feature we built out is a marketplace, which is built on Nostr, all Lightning transactions. But we have a store on there where we have T-shirts, and we have some little desk stands. I got this little ones for Zap.Cooking, and I got these little Nostr ones
Nice.
available, and ship them to you. It's just another just cool layer that we can just do things. You can just build these things, and it's like, okay, why not, right? So
Yeah.
um,
And,
find a
and
way
is
and just keep doing it.
and is that your 3D printer next to you?
Yeah, yeah,
That's cool.
yeah. That was kind of like another, it's similar, similar thing. We have technically minded people who are all curious and tinkerers, and myself included. And I'm like, oh, I want to try a 3D printer. So ask Nostr, hashtag ask Nostr, and people start giving you feedback, and then like, okay, next thing you know, you're building stuff there, and that's this little Nostr thing I was showing is a 3D printed uh, desk stand thing, and the Zap.Cooking ones I had designed, and yeah, so those things are available, and t-shirts and things like that.
Nice. Very cool. And I guess it's would kind of be in the vein of the sponsorship, but I had the thought of because there's people like Peony Lane Wine, Ben
Hmm.
Justman, and there's a lot of other Oshi and his butter. Like, I'm just
Yep.
wondering if there's maybe it's a sponsorship or if there's another place to do it. But I feel like other people on Nostr, Bitcoin businesses, etc., would want to. I guess it'd be a sponsorship, essentially be a way to showcase their product and also probably like I know on Oshi's case for his HODL butter and his other stuff, he has recipes
Yeah.
on his website that incorporate the butter. So like why not put them on Zap.Cooking as well? Or like have a dedicated like Oshi. I guess he would do
Yeah.
that. I don't
Well,
really know.
no. Oshi, I'm a customer, a fan, a friend, a follower, all the above, right? And he has a store on Zap.Cooking, and he was one of the original sponsors. It's time. It's time, so you can buy 7 days, 30 days, whatever. But he was one of the original ones to support me, and I've supported him and appreciate his work. But that's the whole idea, right? You could sponsor everyday Bitcoin on there if you wanted to, and it's just really to get extra eyeballs in this, what we call that circular economy. Because we're not taking like any corporate sponsorship or anything. Like this isn't for like Procter and Gamble to come in and start advertising. It's for somebody with a Lightning wallet who wants to come on and show off their project and get some extra eyeballs on it. That we're happy to support that. uh and we sort of automated it to a good way. Now I did put, you fear the worst, right? So
Mm.
put some tools in there, so if like I get spammed or something, I can stop it, right? So that there's some control. But for anyone that wants to participate in that circular economy, then why not? And a lot of it, it's like the nature of Nostr, or the nature of what I see on Nostr, which is separates from what Bitcoin Twitter. There's people that are builders that just do things. Like Twitter is certainly a good community to connect and have conversations, but they're not, and maybe they are building, but like here, there's a lot more collaboration, a lot more building, a lot more, supporting each other. Like you mentioned, Oshi, selling his HODL butter and different things, and many people that are just doing their thing, and everyone's supporting each other. It's like this new emerging economy that's all built on Lightning.
Yeah, it is truly awesome. The I mean, we're few. We're not that not a lot of us on Noster. But it is pretty neat that we are essentially the world's largest circular economy. I don't know if I'd say largest, but definitely geographically, because it's literally everybody around
Yeah,
the globe that's
yeah,
on it, um, which is really cool. And yeah, I hope that cooking continues to grow. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older. I'm in my early 30s now, and that I've been living alone the past several years. Um, but I feel like it could just be like the things I just said. But that cooking and home cooking and recipes have been on the up and up in society over the past several years. I feel like more people are getting into cooking and like wanting to experiment more and actually like taking the time to learn to cook. Do you feel that at all, or is it
yeah.
just me?
Well, I think COVID sort of amplified that. It's these new hobbies, and then you think there's like cooking channels, and people that you know um, showcase their recipes or what they're eating. And food is something that every single human and animal, for that matter, have in common. uh, you know
Yeah.
on this planet, right? We all eat, whether it's for nutrition, but also for savory, and it's some degree a dopamine hit. Your taste buds, you like the salt or the sugar or whatever. And cooking itself is a bit of an art form, right? So you're taking all this timeless stuff, and there's tradition, there's connection and community that's built into all of it. I was just at my great aunt's funeral. She was 104, and
Oh wow.
one of the things that everyone brought up was her egg recipe, right? So like this is something that a legacy she carried with her, right? She cooked it at certain meals, and you got to learn to do it like her and stuff like that. And so these things transcend generations, and it's something that everyone has in common. So that's why it seems like such a good place to a good direction to build.
hmm Yeah, I agree entirely. One of my first thoughts when I found Zap.Cooking was like, wow, I wish I kind of thought of this. Because just I'm always thinking of ways. I always have so many projects that I want to like build and like ways I can, I don't know, do something cool and fun with Bitcoin and Nostr. And that's like, man, this is totally something that's necessary, that's needed. And like, yeah, I wish I thought of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm glad to see things are going well with it, and I hope they continue to go super well, even better on the up and up. Are you able to share any kind of like upcoming cool features or updates or anything that'll be coming up down the pipe?
Yeah, a couple things. I know, we're just constantly working on it, and have some AI layers as part of it, and through like a membership program that we built out. As I mentioned about, looking at adding passkey as an option. We're doing
Hmm.
some other kind of creative things around, and this is Daniel's baby, I'll call it. So we have an integrated wallet. You can actually back up your wallet through Nostr relays, through your NSEC and stuff like that. So just building out all this simplicity around it. I think that's kind of we build out a lot of features, and I think we're feature rich for what it is. Like I said about the AI recipes, you can do your own cookbooks and stuff like that. Um, so I think it's about just simplifying and just getting that flow more aligned, so it's easy for grandma to come in and sign up and participate in this new, they called it like Web 3.0, right? That was a buzzword that a lot of folks were, using, and ad agencies, I'm sure, consulting agencies involved to get
Yeah.
that together. But Noster's just, I don't like to call it that, but it is a new version of the internet which integrates identity and um, you know monetary aspects as well as community. And I think it's a great place to be, and the people are great. There's a lot of fun that happens just in the space culturally. And
Hmm.
then, beyond that, some of the things I mentioned about Nostra Valley, we're doing these meetups, IRL. Bitcoin Park has Nostra Nights now, which is like I think a monthly or quarterly experience. And so
Yeah.
you just go, the people you talk to all day, just go meet and hang out, and it's good times.
Hmm. Have you been to the Nostr Nights at all in
Yeah,
Nashville?
yeah, I was there in February.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I see Derek's there often, which
Yeah,
I would love.
yeah, he
Yeah.
he I think there was another one last month. So I think it is quarterly. They're
Oh,
doing
yeah.
it quarterly for now.
That's cool. If it, yeah, maybe I'll. Well, I'm in Nashville a decent amount for work. And I've been to the park twice. Yeah, twice. But hopefully it'll line up with one of these events. Because I don't know. I don't know if I can swing going down there just for like a night.
Yeah.
um, but have you thought? You mentioned AI, and I immediately thought of, and maybe this isn't exactly the idea, but because they have those websites, I guess more so it's for alcohol, but I guess probably recipes. If you input your ingredients, and it tells you what you can make. And I feel like that would be super cool to integrate with an AI on Zap.Cooking,
Yeah,
essentially
yeah.
saying, "This is
So
what I have. This is what I'm in the mood for. My constraints, etc., and it spits out community recipes or
yeah,
references
so
them.
we have that built in. We have three
Oh,
features using AI. One is a sous chef. I call it sous chef, and that is where you can copy and paste the recipe, and it'll format it into the Zap.Cooking recipe format, and you click button, uploads, click button, post. Um,
that's great.
Another is an image, same thing. You just put an image in, it reads it and formats it accordingly. Um, and then um, the the if you put a recipe link in for like all recipes or whatever, so just click and paste the link, it'll upload it. Same thing, Zap.Cooking format, click button, done. And then we have a I called them originally Zappy, but I renamed them the Chef B. But exactly that. Like, I have chicken and broccoli in my fridge. Give me a recipe. Or you could just pick, surprise me, and it'll give you a
Uh,
surprise. And then the other layer, and I think this is cool, and we have a lot of room to grow in this. Call it Nourish, and basically it takes you have a little leaf button on every recipe, and you click the button, and it'll total your Nourish score, and it did it a little different. So we're looking at real food, gut health, protein. um I think we have like heart health, and there's another one, or another two, but anyway, it takes all these, and it just gives you just a ranking, a score, and talks, gives you a little summary of like, here's why. And then, what we did is, like, you can actually write those scores to a relay, and now I can start sorting and organizing it based on that information. So it's a future sort of search curation type of
Uh,
functionality that it built in, but I think that one's going to have some legs as we continue to build that out.
Very cool. Very exciting. A lot of, um, I love the sous chef thing. Like just the ability, because if you're somebody that already has maybe your recipes on your website or elsewhere, and it's very just low friction just to import them into Zap.Cooking rather than having to just redo the recipe that you've already done somewhere else. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
so that's cool.
completely.
And I wonder, I guess it's a tool for AI. If someone has like a handwritten recipe, take a picture. Oh, yeah, wait, you say
Yeah,
you do that, yeah.
yeah, you
Um,
could do that. Another cool feature that uh, I built out is a recipe book. So um, maybe you don't even know because I haven't marketed it well enough, but the recipes you uploaded, you can create, or you can create others, and you can create recipe packs. And this is just a curation of different recipes, and then that recipe pack you can actually click, and I have it behind a zap wall. It's like 2000 sats or something like that, but it'll print out a PDF of all your recipes, and you can put like a cover letter or not, or a table of contents, or you can add different things. So you can create your own recipe book. It's not like shipped to your door, but it's on a PDF, and it works pretty good.
that's cool. I wonder if drop shipping or printing on demand, I wonder if that's a potential uh,
Yeah, yeah, we'd like
avenue,
to build it out eventually, but it's just
low
there's a little
priority
more involved there.
avenue. Cool. Well, I think we could probably we should start wrapping up. I've had you on. There was technical difficulties for the audience, so Seth and I have been on this call for a little bit, a little bit longer than the podcast has been on going on for. But Seth, if I can part. Well, I guess before I ask my non-Nostr, non-Bitcoin question, is there anything else you would like the audience to know about Zap.Cooking, or yeah, anything at all you'd love to bestow?
No, just come join us there and sign up, leave a comment, tag us on Nostr. We're on Twitter as well. Um, but that's just mostly for marketing purposes. And but yeah, we're look forward to people trying it and giving us feedback and letting us know again what they want to see, and we'll build it.
Great. And I'll put a bunch of links in the description for people. And if I can, I like to ask the guests, my guests, or the show guests, a non-Bitcoin question, non-Nostr question. Uh, that's okay.
I'm ready.
All right. What makes you lose track of time? And the answer can
Well,
be Bitcoin or Nostr, but ideally it's not.
honestly, I lost track of time during this conversation. So
Oh,
that's um but I think it's it's a little bit of that, and it's around community, right? The modern world has sort of um you know isolated us to some degree, and COVID sort of amplified that. And we're all community based people, social beings, and it's really when we get together and have conversations, IRL, or even through an exchange like this, which is video conference. You're connecting with people, and there's something extremely valuable about that in this modern day. Generations ago they used to go to bars, or they used to go bowling or whatever, and those things still exist, but it's just not the mainstream anymore. So I think
mm,
just having these smaller sessions, you and I, or in a group, or at Nostr Valley or whatever, for me, it's just, being amongst friends that, really loses time.
nice. Great answer. I agree. I do feel like though the IRL, the meat space, people are the yearning for that is on the up and up, which I'm happy to see. Um, but yeah, I agree that the conversations about well, not about anything that anyone finds interesting, but just having meaningful conversations or where it's at with friends and strangers too. I mean, with anybody, but
Yeah.
yeah, just good times. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Seth, for coming on the show. It's been a blast. I'm gonna go cook I'm starving.
Ah,
But
nice.
yeah, thanks so much for coming on. I'll put a bunch of links in the description. Zap.Cooking.com. That is the website. That is the URL. Um, yeah,
Yeah, no
it's a
.com.
real
Although
thing.
Zap.Cooking.com will take you there too, but
Okay,
Zap.Cooking
that's cool. That's good.
works as well. So
Yeah, great. Well, thanks again, Seth, and thanks everybody for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you.
thanks,
Bye.
Keith.